Hi everyone, Carl here, and today I'm going to add some chainmail to my Zombie Pit Fighter Spite Gauntlet. First things first, I know the proper term is mail, not chainmail. In this context, the word mail just means chain. So as my friend Frank would say, saying chainmail is like saying chain. I just suspect that most people searching for miniature sculpting videos would probably be looking for the term chainmail, because it has become kind of embedded in gaming lore. Right, there are different ways to depict mail miniatures. In older sculpts, like this early 90s Moroder miniature, it's simply represented as a regular series of pinpricks. This is an old school way of doing it, but it's fairly straightforward. Next up, we have the Citadel Dwarf from the turn of the millennium. You should be able to see how the sculptor here made rows of rings from C-shapes. It looks better in my opinion, though of course real mail rings are interlocked. Now here's the thing, realistically at this scale, mail would look more like heavy cloth. What we're doing here is a kind of stylistic representation, just to make the miniature look more interesting. Luckily for us, it's a lot easier and faster than it looks. The first thing I did was prepare the base for the mail. In this case, it's the forearm and the fist. If it looks like it's a bit small in proportion to the rest of the arm, that's because it is. In order to create the texture, you need to be able to press on it with some confidence, and you cannot do that if the piece is still soft all the way through. By making the base smaller, we're free to add another layer on top, once it cures, and the final product will be roughly the right size. Once that cured, I added another layer on top and smoothed it out. You want kind of a thick layer here, as a thin layer will just get torn up. Take your time to smooth it out, though some folds may be acceptable in places, as mail really does behave a lot like fabric. Next, I took out a sewing needle and used the eye to shape rows of C-shapes. I left a bit of material between them, but if you want to go for the Citadel Dwarf look, you can just keep going all the way through. In either case, try to keep the rows regular and straight as you can. You want all your C's to be facing the same way and be evenly spaced. Once I had the piece textured one way, I flipped the miniature over and started going in the other direction. Again, try to keep it regular. You can completely skip this step if you want the Citadel Dwarf look. Finally, I used the point of the needle to refine some spots. I will be adding some armor plates to this gauntlet as well as a spike obviously, but I want any visible surfaces to look okay. The top edge is a bit but that's going to get covered with some fur later on. And there you go, miniature mail. Then chrome it's a lot easier to make than the real thing. Thank you for watching and have a great day.